The Price of Loving Him. Episode 2. My blood was rushing through my head, which made me feel sick. His eyes and freckles were my favorite things about him. I looked into his eyes. I tried to touch his cheek softly with my hand, but he stopped me before I could. I bit my bottom lip, which was like a kid getting caught stealing candy. He pointed to his cheek with my hand, and I gently touched him. I'm pretty sure it was the adrenaline rushing through me that made his eyes flutter shut. I pulled away from his touch and looked into his dark, empty eyes as they moved around my face. "Isn't she your stepdaughter?" A voice came from behind us, and we both jumped and turned around. I thought I was crazy. The guy he knocked out a few minutes ago was now standing in front of us with a gun pointed right at us. "Do you know who I am?" Sebastian asked. I was so scared that I was shaking. When I heard his voice, I pulled on his arm and told him not to talk. I was worried about him. The famous Devereux. Who wouldn't know about the devil himself? The crazy guy laughed. "You killed your father for the cartel business. You became a leader and the most dangerous creature on earth." The man says. "Very well, that means you know perfectly well that I will not hesitate to shoot your sultana of a brain," Sebastian growled. It was like a vicious monster took over his body. "Maybe I'll just trap your stepdaughter because she seems to like older men best. Touch her, and you'll see a hell of a lot faster." Sebastian put me behind him, and I looked over his shoulder. "See you in hell, devil." The disgusting man laughs and then points the gun at Sebastian. When I heard the gunshots, my heart stopped. Sebastian pushed me back with all his strength, and I hit the wall hard, which made my head bang against it. "Sebastian," I said in a whisper before I passed out. My hand shot up to ease the pain in my head, and I slowly opened my eyes. I am in a room that is orange, and I have never seen it before. I started to panic. I stood up, but gravity let me down and I fell to the floor. I gasped in pain right away. The door swings wide open, and hands grab my face. I said, Mom." I was shocked. "It's me, baby." My mum smiles as she helps me get up from the floor and onto the bed. I don't remember her coming, only the gun pointing at Sebastian and me. "Where's Sebastian? Is he all right?" I asked quickly. My mum gave me a look that made me think she didn't believe me, then she nodded. My mum is acting strange. She keeps looking down at her legs. "What's wrong?" "What's wrong is that you're sleeping with my fiancé. What's even worse is that you're in love with him." My mother yells angrily. Sebastian told her we slept together, but I didn't get it. "No, Mum," I cried. "Please, Mommy," I yelled even louder. "You're a slut just like your father," my mother says as she slaps me across the face. "Sebastian will never love you, he will always love me." My mom hits me again, this time harder. "Mom, please, I'm your daughter," I said, rubbing my sore cheek. "I wish your father had taken you. It would have done me a favor." She hisses this as she stands up and starts to walk away. I tried to stand up and follow her. I wanted to beg her to stay and let me explain, but I couldn't move. I was stuck. The end of the dream, my body shot up in panic right away, and I felt pain all over. My forehead was sweating a lot, and my mouth was dry. I was shocked to see an four connected to my arm. I looked around the white room I was in. There were pink roses on the table in front of me with a card inside. I carefully and gently stood up and walked over to the table to get the card. I'm sorry I had to leave to take care of some important business. Please make yourself at home. Who wrote this? What if the shooter killed Sebastian and is now keeping me hostage? The shooter was the only one with a gun, and now he's dead. I quickly grabbed the vase full of roses, threw out the pink ones, and turned the vase upside down to use it as a weapon. I crept up to the door and opened it slowly. I peeked my head out and saw the white hallway in front of me. It was too quiet. I carefully and quietly walked out with a strong grip on the vase. I heard voices coming from the left side, so I stayed close to the wall and tried to listen. She wasn't supposed to know or even get involved, Maya, I heard a voice I recognized say in a harsh whisper. Maya, like my best friend Maya. With my eyes closed, I pushed off with the heel of my foot and threw the vase at the voice. Damn it, the voice yells loudly. I opened my eyes and saw Caleb hopping on one foot and holding his other foot. Caleb, I said. I ran right into his arms and snuggled up to him to get warm. Caleb stiffened up, but then he calmed down and put his arms around me. I was scared. Where's Sebastian? The gun? Is Sebastian dead? I kept going on. What would I feel if he died? Caleb quickly figured out that I was a nervous wreck. Just sit down, Arya. He helped me sit down in the chair next to us. I sat there and looked at him until he answered. He went to the wash basin, filled a cup with water, and gave it to me. I drank the water in the cup all at once. He's fine, Caleb said, and my body and mind both relaxed. Caleb watched me closely as I ran my fingers through my blonde hair. I said, I want answers and I want them now. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a gun, and put it on the table. I was so scared that my eyes got big, and I moved back right away. I know about the mafia, I said. Don't worry, you know I'll never hurt you. I left for Louisiana with the goal of following my dreams and becoming an NFL player, but that didn't work out. Instead, I met Sebastian and got a job in the mafia, where I fell in love with my fiancé, Caleb said. It hurt my heart to think about him being in love with someone else, but falling in love with my fiancé was like a slap in the face. I slowly nodded my head. But it's hard now. I asked, how so, without sounding bothered. I realized how much I gave up, Caleb says with a sad smile. Caleb looked deeply into my eyes and asked, how can you be in love with someone when you know your heart doesn't belong to them? My heart raced. Arya, change the subject. Where's Sebastian? I asked to change the subject. Caleb says, meeting. Caleb smirks and says, you're stuck with me all day. I'd rather be shot at, I said. Caleb laughed, but then there was an awkward silence. Let's go swimming and then spend the rest of the day outside. Caleb smiles at me. Not weird at all. I think he might be crazy. I'll have Lucia bring you some shorts and a swimsuit. Lucia? I asked. Just go back to the room you woke up in, housekeeper, and I'll have her bring it to you. I nodded and then left. I sat on the bed and waited for Lucia. Was it the girl Caleb left me for that he said he loved? I love Caleb and will always love him. He was my first love, my first time, and my first everything. But all the secrets changed everything, and my love quickly turned into a friendship. Sebastian let me down again. After all that crap that happened, he left me alone. He's crazy in love with my mum, which should make me happy, but it doesn't. Hello? Someone called out to me from behind the door. I walked over and opened it, and I saw a young girl. Hi, you must be Lucia. I held out my hand, and she quickly took it and smiled. I looked down at the clothes she had folded in her hands. Thanks, Lucia. I smiled softly. Call me if you need anything, Mrs. Devereux. She smiles and walks away. I swear I was going to stop her and tell her I'm not his fiancée but his soon-to-be stepdaughter. Instead, I just let it happen and smiled back. I put on the bikini, which was a two-piece in a light blue color with white polka dots. It was cute. The bottom part was a little too small, and the top was tight, but I don't mind. There were also mom jeans shorts, which I put over my bikini bottoms. I shut the door behind me and walked back to the kitchen. Caleb was sitting in a chair with his back to me. I said, I'm ready, with my arms crossed behind my back. Caleb looked at me for a long time, and I stood there awkwardly. Are you just going to stare all day? I asked in a sarcastic tone. Caleb chuckles and gets up. Come on. Caleb smiles and walks outside to the backyard, where there is a very big pool. He put the things he was carrying on the table next to the pool and then looked back at me as he took off his shirt. My eyes followed his strong body structure. I didn't remember him being so buff. I bit my lip lightly when I saw his six-pack. When I looked him in the eye, I felt my cheeks get hot and quickly moved my eyes to the floor while jumping over to my other leg and tucking a piece of blonde hair behind my ear. Can you spray me? He asked, pointing to the sunscreen. I nodded and walked over to him. When I grabbed the bottle, his skin brushed against mine, which felt weird. Our eyes met. I sprayed his back first, and after making sure it was covered in sunscreen, I moved over to his chest. I shook the bottle and kept spraying, trying not to look at anyone too much. I said, all done. Turn around. He takes the bottle from me. Why? I ask stupidly. Really, Arya? Why? God, I'm such an idiot sometimes. So you won't look more like a tomato than you already do. Caleb laughs. Am I that red? I shyly looked down to unbutton my shorts, and I could feel his heavy eyes on me. I put my hair up in a bun and he sprayed my back. The coldness of the liquid made me shiver. I turned around slowly to face him, and he started to spray my chest. He says, all done. We looked at each other for a while until I thought of something. I smiled at my naughty plan for revenge. Caleb broke my heart, but we were best friends long before this happened, so I felt safe with him. That doesn't mean I forgive him, it just means I can act like a kid around him. What's the smile? I pushed Caleb into the pool before he could even finish saying what he was going to say. He fell backwards, and the water hit me all over, soaking me completely. I started to laugh hard right away, and my hand flew to my mouth as I did. He came out of the water, laughing and flipping his wet hair back. Caleb laughs and says, "Real nice, Arya." I looked at his clothes to see where the sound was coming from when a phone rang. Caleb says, "Oh, can you give me my phone?" I took his phone and walked to the edge of the pool, where Caleb was waiting. I bent down to give him his phone, but he also grabbed my arm and pulled me into the cold water. I swam up to him and found him laughing. I said, "You idiot, I had your phone." I looked around for his phone. "I don't care." Caleb pushed me under the water, and I swam back up to the top. We were best friends before we became intimate, so it was easy for us to get along. "You're going to get it." I jumped on his back and tackled him into the water. We swam and raced, but most of the time we just jumped on each other, and I forgot all about my problems and worries. Caleb is the best at making me smile when everything is going wrong, even if he's the one who caused it. Caleb asked out of the blue, "Do you think about what life would be like if I didn't go to Louisiana?" We were both sitting on the steps inside the pool. I kicked my feet under the water to make it look like I didn't hear him. "Arya, I don't like to think about things that can't happen," I said. "I think about it every day." Caleb moves a little closer to me, and I can see him getting closer through my eyelashes. "You probably would have forgotten about me even if you still lived here," I said quietly. His tattoo was on full display, and wet droplets ran down his jaw. His hair fell perfectly. He got really close to me, and I took a big breath. "I could never forget about you, even if I tried." His voice was soft, and I couldn't stop looking at his pale green eyes. I've always been so drawn to them. I looked down and decided to swim away from him, so I swam deeper into the middle to avoid him, but he quickly caught up with me. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me back. My front hit him hard, and our faces were only a few inches apart. I looked into his eyes for something, anything, but all I saw was raw emotion. My lips were getting closer, and so were his. My heart was beating so fast that I thought it might pop out of my chest at any moment. I wasn't going to kiss him because he was engaged, but I wanted to see how far the bastard would go. He got very close to my lips, ready to kiss them, but I backed away with an annoyed look on my face. This just proves my point that no matter how hard he tries, he will never grow up. "You're really gross," I said quietly before pulling away. My engagement to her is his eyes and words changed direction. "Sorry, I got carried away." Caleb ran his fingers through his hair and looked angry. "It won't happen again. I understand why you didn't answer my call." Sebastian, who was angry, stood in front of us. Caleb immediately moved even farther away from me. "Get out, pumpkin, and get dressed. We have an important dinner to go to," Sebastian said with a dry laugh and shook his head in disapproval. He took off his tie and then stormed back inside. He shouldn't be upset, should he? I waited for Sebastian on the porch. I wore a black dress that was tight and elegant and fit me perfectly. "How do you look?" When I turned around, Sebastian's eyes were wandering. When they finally focused on me, they got darker. He looked great in his all-black tuxedo. It was simple. "Like my mother's daughter," I said angrily. It was getting on my nerves. How could I do this to my mom? I was going to say ravishing, he says. I looked down shyly, bit my lip to keep from saying anything mean, and just said thank you quickly. He took my hand and led me to his car in a nice way. Sebastian's mood swings are making me dizzy. One day, he likes me, the next, he doesn't, and then he thinks I'm beautiful. It's too much. The radio was playing soft music, which made things awkward. I hope you didn't get Caleb in trouble, I said. He'll get more than that. I turned around to look at him, and he tightened his grip on the wheel. I don't belong to you. I rolled my eyes. Did you just roll your eyes at me? He asked. Yes, I did, and what are you going to do about it? I asked angrily. Sebastian roughly pushed the car to the side, making my head hit the hard window. Don't test me, he said through clenched teeth, looking like a crazy person. Sebastian had a certain darkness about him. He's slowly showing me how big of a monster he can be. I slowly moved my hand up to my forehead until I felt something wet. I glared down at my bloody hand. You just made me bleed, I said, out of breath. I mostly told myself that if I heard it come out of my mouth, it would make me realize how dangerous he really was and that he could hurt me and make me bleed like this. Sebastian looked angry, he was about to explode, but when he saw how scared I was, his face changed completely. I could be wrong, but he looked like he was worried or even scared. Get yourself cleaned up before you get blood all over my car. He threw a napkin at me, and I quickly picked it up and put it on my cut. I felt sick and dizzy because of how he was treating me. Just call your mum and go home. Just leave and never look back. My blood has dried up, and he looks more at ease. I'm so scared that I can't even move a muscle. Sebastian parked his car in the VIP area. A man opened the door for me and helped me get out of the car. I didn't look anyone in the eye, I kept my eyes on the ground. I probably had a big bruise on my forehead, and when I looked down, I saw Sebastian's shoes right below me. He put his hand on the small of my back, and I didn't even look up to see him. I just brushed it off. I was scared and angry. How could he do that to me? Has he ever done something like that to my mum? Sebastian told the waiter in front, Don's party, and the waiter took us right to the back. Because of the cigarette smoke, it was hard to breathe in this place. I tried to wave away the smoke with my hand, but it didn't work. He quickly saw that I was having trouble breathing and gently pulled me to his chest, making sure to cover my nose with his scent. I breathed in his strong musk, which made my mouth water. No, Arya, he really did almost knock you out in his car. I kept my head inside of his suit to stay away from the awful smoke. There was loud music playing everywhere, and I could hear my heels clicking on the hard floor. I finally got the guts to look around and lift my head up, but I wish I hadn't. We were at a men's club, and the girls were walking around in nothing but heels. Keep your head down, pumpkin, Sebastian whispered in my ear. I listened to him and kept my head pulled between his chest and suit. We stopped after a few more steps, and I looked up. There were a lot of men in the room and very few women. Mr. Devereux. A man came up to us and shook hands with Sebastian. The old man quickly asked for my hand, and I gave it to him. He smiled at me as his rough lips brushed against the back of my soft hand. I almost threw up on this checkered floor in front of all these people. You never told me your wife was so young and pretty. The old man winked at me. He could really be my grandpa? Wait, wife? No, sir, that's not right at all. I'm not his, my wife is very young but very grown up. Sebastian nudged my elbow to warn me not to finish my sentence. I looked up at him and saw that I was still hugging him, so I quickly let go. The old man pointed out the bruise on my forehead and said, "Looks like she doesn't listen very well, Spa." I was mad that this person I didn't know talked about me like I was a dog. I don't usually stand up for myself, but that made me want to grow some balls. I was going to say something bad about this guy, but Sebastian stopped me. Sebastian softly pushed me behind him and then stepped up to the old man, his chest touching the old man's. "Talk about my wife like that again," he said. "And I'll kill you with my bare hands, cut you into tiny pieces, and then feed them to your wife and mistress." He growled angrily, and I could see his shoulders getting bigger and bigger. "Okay, Mr. Devereux," the old man said with a stutter. Sebastian took my hand and led me to the table, where there were a lot of people. They all seemed scared to be around us. I straightened up and crossed my legs to fix my position. His hand was firmly on my thigh, and it made my whole body feel fuzzy. Isn't that crazy? Just one touch is all it takes to bring me back to life. "I didn't know your fiancé was coming with us." A brave woman spoke up, and the word fiancé made my stomach flutter. Sebastian said, "She surprised me." He didn't have the same stone-cold face as usual, so I was almost shocked to see a smile on his lips. "My fiancé means a lot to me, and you may or may not have heard that there are people after me and my new family. I need that to stop." Every word he said was full of power. I felt it, and these people did too. Someone told me about it, but I thought it was just a rumor. "Who would be dumb enough to go against the devil himself?" another man said. Devil, I didn't like that word, especially when it was used to describe him. I asked myself that same question when 10 skulls with bullet holes in them showed up at my house. Sebastian growled. The memory of the bloody kitchen flashed through my mind like lightning. Sebastian says, "Dante won't stop until he has my head, and he will kill anyone to get it." Dante, you kind of remind me of the Lion King. I want to make a deal. Sebastian looked at me while he talked. He wasn't talking to me, but I have a feeling it has something to do with me. "Anything for you, Mr. Devereux," said the man who had been threatened earlier. Sebastian said, "If he does kill me, I'll give up my cartel," he says, "and I don't like where this is going. I need my fiancé and stepdaughter's lives to be spared, and they need your cartel's protection." He whispered, but his voice was still loud enough to be heard. Is he out of his mind? Please put them in a safe place and erase their names from everything. I also want them to be financially stable. Are you crazy? I turned all the way around to look at him, and my face was full of different emotions. "This isn't your business, pumpkin," he growled. "It's all about me. You think we'll be safe with another cartel?" I yell angrily. He didn't pay attention to me, he paid attention to everyone else. "You have my cartel's word," the man says. And if I find out that any of you know Dante, I'll burn this place down with everyone in it." Sebastian shook hands with all the men at the table, daring them to say anything about his threat. "We swear that your fiancé and stepdaughter will be safe and unharmed," the same woman from before said. I looked at her, and tears started to well up in my eyes. "I want to go home right now," I said. I was mad that these people looked happy and that my mom and I would just be passed on to another cartel. "I'll keep in touch." Sebastian stood up and tried to grab my hand, but I ran away. I picked up the end of my dress and ran quickly without looking back. I got outside and it was pouring. The rain soaked me all the way through. The stars were shining brightly in the dark sky above me. Sebastian finally caught up with me and pulled me back to face him. He looked mad. "What's wrong with you? I just made a deal to save you." He said that water droplets were sliding down the side of his face. "Don't you get it? If being safe means you dying, then forget it." "I don't want it," I yelled. "I don't even know why I'm so mad. I should be grateful that he made a deal to save my mom and me, but I'm not. Arya, I'm going to die one day, and I'd rather die knowing that your mom is safe." The rain was getting heavier, and it was getting harder to talk. "I need to know that your mom is safe. I've had enough of this game with you. When will you see that I'm more than just a body?" I yelled. "I get it, you love my mom, so stop screwing with my head because I'm going crazy." I tried to turn around, but he stopped me. "Are you kidding me?" he yelled angrily. "All I care about is you. Every day I worry that you won't make it through another. You are all I think about." He shook my shoulders a little, and his face was full of something I couldn't put my finger on. His hair and clothes were wet. I said, "You're making me into someone I don't want to be. You care about my mom 1 minute and then you care about me the next. I really think you're just messing with both of us." He shakes his head. "I care about you, I do, but I'll always love your mom." He let go of my shoulders, and his eyes were completely black and empty. The water splashed off his mouth and onto my cheeks. His hair was now messy, unlike the way he always slicked it back. I was hurt, so I stepped back with tears in my eyes. My stomach hurt so much that it felt like it was doing cartwheels, and my throat felt tight. My heart was broken and my legs felt like they were floating. "That's the problem," I finally said. He looked deeply into my eyes and watched me. "You love her," I whispered, my voice sounding broken. "Arya, Sebastian, take me back to the house." I got in the car, and he stood there for a while before getting behind the wheel. I looked out the window and prayed that this was just a bad dream and that I would wake up soon. But it was real, my new reality. "I should probably check out your forehead." He drove into the driveway and parked the car. "I feel fine," I said. He nodded and got out of the car. I stayed in the car and looked at myself in the mirror. My makeup was running down my cheeks, my wet hair was covering my neck, and the bloody cut on my forehead was now a big black bruise with a small cut in the middle. I took off my heels before getting out of the car and slowly walked to the front door of the house. When I got to my room, I broke down. I slid down my door and cried, holding my stomach the whole time. He is playing with me, and I am just a dumb girl who wants someone to love her. I crawled over to my bed and cried some more into my sheets. I quietly screamed in pain, the pain of making a mistake and the pain of loving someone who doesn't love me back. My mum doesn't deserve this, she should be happy and loved. I'm just like my dad, and my mind is just as messed up as his. I don't hate my mom, so why did I do this to her? Sebastian will always love her, and she will always love him. Was it some kind of revenge against my dad? The door to my room opened, but I didn't look up to see who it was. I just lay on my bed with tears running down my face. "Arya," Caleb whispered. I looked up at him, and he took my hand in his big one. He looked over my body and face before gently wiping my tears away with his finger. I held his hand tighter, and he looked down at our hands and kissed my knuckles lightly. "I need you, Caleb. I'm here, Arya." He holds my face in his hand, and I feel his warmth. "Why?" I said softly. "Why did you leave me?" I asked, my voice shaking. His hand stayed on my cheek. I looked deeply into his eyes, hoping to find some truth, but all I saw was regret. He looked down, and I could tell he was having trouble finding the right words, which made me even more anxious. "I just need to know why, maybe that will help me understand why everyone else has left me." He says, "I was a dumb teenager who took things for granted. I knew I had made the biggest mistake of my life when I left you." He came a little closer to me, but I stayed where I was. We were only a few inches apart, but I didn't feel anything. "I never stopped loving you, Arya." He said my lips were his, but they weren't. I really felt sick when his lips touched mine. They shouldn't have been there, but I couldn't pull away. I just wanted someone to comfort me and take away all the rejection, which is bad because he's getting married. I know I'm a bad person. I kissed his lips harder and ran my fingers through his hair. He picked me up and put us on the bed. I gently wrapped my legs around his waist. My hands moved up to his cheeks. We kissed one last time, then we both pulled away to catch our breath. We closed our eyes and put our foreheads together. "God, you're getting married," Caleb whispers in a soft, humble voice. "Let's worry about it tomorrow." "No way, jerk." "Caleb," I was trying to get him to see reason. He said, "I love you, Arya," and then he put his head between my neck and chest and breathed in my scent. I didn't answer because I don't love him the same way he loves me. Instead, I closed my eyes and let the guilt wash over me. The next morning the sun was shining through the blinds, and a strong, heavy arm was around my waist. Caleb was fast asleep, with me close to him. I slowly ran my finger from his forehead to his chin. He smiled and pulled me closer. "Good morning, Arya," he whispers with his eyes still closed. His hair was a mess, which made me think of the sleepovers we used to have when we were younger. "Morning," I said, and his eyes opened to meet mine. The door opened just as I was about to say something. "Caleb," there was a voice in the room that I didn't know. When I looked at the door, he sat up right away. He knew the voice. His beautiful fiancée came in with a shocked look on her face, and tears started to flow down her painted cheeks. "Nina," he gasped. Her eyes met mine, then his, and then they went back to mine. "You whore," she said. Her voice was broken, and she wiped her tears and ran out of the room. I know that Caleb didn't look at me, he ran after his fiancée instead. I put my hand over my mouth, and guilt flooded my body again. Tears started to fill my eyes. I ran with the sheets wrapped around me. My mascara had dried on my cheeks from last night, and my red lipstick had smeared on my lips. I was still wearing my dress from dinner. I ran in the direction I saw them leave, which was in the living room. I paid close attention to what they were saying. He tried to explain, "Nina, it wasn't like that. Did you do anything with her?" She screams with tears in her eyes. Caleb looked down in shame and said, "I kissed her." It was so quiet that it was hard to hear. "Do you love her?" She wipes her tears and tries to get answers from him. He took a few seconds to answer, and what he said shocked me. "I do love her, but not enough to lose you," he said, looking up at her. "Did you feel sorry for her because you loved me?" She asked with a little more content. "Yes, I had unfinished business with her, I'm sorry." He says this while holding her close in a loving hug. I didn't realize I was crying until I felt something wet fall on my arm. I let go of the sheet and held my stomach in pain, feeling like I was going to throw up. "He's engaged, Arya." I heard a voice I knew from behind me and quickly turned around. For a moment, I thought my mom had found out about Sebastian and me because she was standing in a robe with a hurt look on her face. "He is getting married. You know how I feel about cheating, your father did it to me." She sounded ashamed and looked at me with disgust. "Mom," I tried to explain. "Especially since they're having a baby together, you want to ruin their family." My mom yells at me, and the coldness of her voice makes me jump. "A child, she's pregnant." "He's a big liar." I turned around and saw Caleb looking at me with regret. "She's pregnant." I turned my head to look at him, and tears filled my eyes again. "What the hell is going on?" Sebastian's voice sounded annoyed. "Yes, you home-wrecking slut," she yells. I know how it feels to have the truth hurt. I hugged myself and looked back at my mom and Sebastian. My mom didn't even try to defend me, she just stared. I looked back at Caleb, who wasn't even looking at me or saying anything to defend me. How the hell did I get into this situation? I'm not wanted here, and no one wants me here. It's always going to be like this. I ruin families like my dad, and my worst nightmare finally came true, I'm just like my dad. "I'm so sorry," I said to Nina. Then I turned around to look at my mom and ran away. I ran to my room and clawed at the door to open it. Once I was inside, I leaned against it. "I have to go," I told myself. "I'll go to the one place where I know I'm wanted." I wiped my tears, put my hair in a bun, and ran to my closet to get all my clothes. I stuffed them all into my duffel bag. I waited until night, and no one came to check on me, not Caleb or Sebastian. I waited until 12 and then got some paper and a pen. I left my letter for my mom on my bed and then took my things. I took my mom's car keys off the empty kitchen table and ran outside to her car. I looked at the house for a second, knowing I'd never see Sebastian again. All I can do is hope they have the best lives without me. My mom is beautiful and smart, and she deserves a happy ending. I don't deserve one. I picked up the phone and called him while I started the car. "Hey!" A voice answered, a voice I hadn't heard in years. I could hear him breathing on the phone, and I could almost feel his breath on my cheek. When he realized it was me, his princess, his pride and joy, his negotiation, his breathing slowed down. "You know what will happen, right, princess?" he asked. "I know it all too well, I remember that fight from years ago. He's the man my mother has been keeping me safe from, and he'll always have my heart." "Yes," I said, my eyes full of tears. He says something else on the phone that I know I have to answer because I feel the same way. I can't be rude to him because he's the reason I'm still alive. "Love you too, Dad." It's been 6 months since I left Salmaris and 3 months since I got engaged. I guess my dad had a bigger deal for me, and the biggest one was that he offered me to a drug lord. The bad thing is that I can see a future with my fiancé, Henry Benerick. He's dangerous, but he has a good heart and has been taking really good care of me. I think I could love him. "Good morning, beautiful," Henry whispers in my ear and kisses me softly on the lips. I pulled the soft sheets over me and tried to go back to sleep. "We have that gala tonight, honey." He uncovered me, and my messy hair covered my face. I kissed him before getting out of bed. I felt good about myself after 6 months. My hair was platinum blonde, my eyes were bright green again, my skin was clear and perfect, and my body looked great in my black lacy nightgown that barely covered anything. I've worked out every day since I left, and now my body is slim and fit. I had a huge dragon tattoo on my thigh that was beautiful, but it was connected to my dad's mafia. I smiled at how far I'd come, took off my clothes, and stepped into the warm water. I let the warm water run down my back, which made goosebumps run up my body. My face felt great under the water. I was so relaxed and distracted by the shower that I didn't hear Henry come in with me. He wrapped his strong arms around me from behind and kissed me up my neck as I threw my head back slowly. He whispers, "So beautiful." I turned around and kissed him. Henry's lips were so different from Sebastian's and Caleb's. They were softer, and I could feel how much he wanted me and needed me. Henry didn't wait, he picked me up and I wrapped my legs around his strong body. I moaned, "I want you in me now." He gently pushed me against the shower wall and kissed every part of my body. When he thrust into me, I arched my back hard. I screamed when he fully entered me with his long length. The water made my legs slippery, so he held on tight. He didn't stop, he kept thrusting inside me. With every thrust, my whole body banged against the wall behind me. "Oh my God, Henry," I moaned into his neck. He quickly found my lips and sucked on my neck, leaving his mark. Henry was very possessive of me. He liked that people knew I was his. My dad loves him and thinks he's the one for me. I started to think the same thing. We both walked out of the shower with our fluffy towels. I put on my makeup while he got dressed. "I'm scared," I said as I brushed my hair and then grabbed my curling iron to curl my blonde hair. "Don't worry, sweetie. I should be scared because you're so beautiful. You know how many guys are going to want you." He kissed the love bite on my neck from behind, and I shivered. "I have to admit, I'm excited to meet your friends." I smiled softly. While I was standing up and walking to my closet, my robe fell off. I chose a long-sleeved, dark green dress that hugged all my curves. He watched me get dressed as I slowly pulled my black lace leggings up my long, silky legs. "Don't make me trap you against this wall, Arya." He laughed darkly as he clipped his watch to his wrist and struggled with his tie. I quickly walked over and tightened it for him. "I wouldn't mind, but we have a party to go to." I bit my bottom lip and batted my eyelashes at him like I didn't know what to do. "After the party, dear." We both got dressed and then walked down the stairs to see my dad and his wife sitting on our couch. My dad cheated on my mum with this woman, and I don't really understand why. She's nothing like my mum, she was a rug compared to my beautiful mother. My dad sold me to Henry, not for money but for information he wanted about another mafia. I had no idea my dad was a cartel leader, I had always been kept away from this kind of life. I knew he was involved in shady business, but I never knew he was a leader of a cartel. Henry has probably been watching me for a while and couldn't say no to my dad's offer to marry me in exchange for information. Henry and my dad made me stronger, I trained with their crew and am now a member of their crew. If my mom found out what I was up to, she'd literally drag me out of the house. Too bad I don't care. "Hey, Daddy." "Hey, Maria." I kissed my dad's cheek and then Maria's, who is my dad's wife. Henry and my dad shook hands after that. "Arya, I heard that your mother would be at this gala. Are you still going?" My dad asked. He was worried that I would go back to being weak and not be able to handle it, but he was wrong. "I have my fiancé, my dad, and my other mother. I'm fine." I smiled at Maria. To be completely honest, I'm using Maria. My mom didn't take my side, she hurt me, so I will hurt her the same way. The only way I can hurt her without killing her is to use Maria. Henry and I drove our own car, and Maria and my dad drove theirs. I've changed a lot in the last 6 months, both mentally and physically. I don't want to see him because I think it will make me sad. Will I regret having this engagement ring on my finger? Henry must have sensed my worries because he gently put his hand on my thigh and smiled softly. I smiled back and put our fingers together. When the party saw me, my heart raced and my sweaty hands let go of his dry hand. "You are strong, Arya." I was so busy talking to myself that I didn't see Henry get down and open the door for me. My dress was tight as hell and came down to my knees. I couldn't even breathe. I would have worn my favorite sweatpants and a long-sleeve hoodie if I could have. My dad and Maria got there soon after. My dad helps Maria down, and Henry and I hold hands. I felt sick to my stomach and couldn't stop myself from throwing up. I was scared to see people from my past because I was so weak then and I'm not like that anymore. "Henry Benerick, Arya Benerick." He tells the guy at the door who is taking names and making sure no rivals try to get in. "Who are the people behind you?" the security guard asked, pointing at Maria and my dad. Henry says, "My in-laws are Jack Callahan and Maria Callahan." The security guard quickly regretted it. Everyone knows who my dad is and is afraid of him because he was so ruthless when he was younger. My dad has come a long way and changed, sort of. "Little boy." My dad hisses at the poor guy, and I start to laugh. "Be nice, Daddy." I laughed even harder. Henry bends down to my ear level, and I can feel his warm tongue licking my earlobe. Henry whispered, "I thought you only called me daddy. If he only knew." "Back off." My dad put his arms in front of me and Henry, and I couldn't help but laugh. I've never been happier than I am right now. So I thought. We took our tables, which had the words Benerick family on them. My dad didn't like that very much, but I reminded him that I'll be a Benerick in less than a month when I marry Henry. The theme for the gala was white and diamonds, and it was beautiful. A lot of people at this party were in the mafia, so there were a lot of drugs and prostitutes. Everyone was dancing, and I was watching and wishing. Henry saw this. "Dance with me." Henry stood up and held out his hand for me to take. I smiled at my dad, who smiled back. I put my arms around the back of his neck, and he put his hands around my waist. His eyes were a dark grey color, and I had grown accustomed to them over the past 6 months. I smiled softly at him. Ben was a beautiful man. He has a great personality and is very good looking. I felt a spark looking into his eyes, a spark I've felt before and one that scares me to have again. "Will he hurt me?" he asked softly. "What's wrong, honey?" Henry turned me around and pulled me roughly back to his chest. "Just thinking about how we're getting married soon." I gasped because I was afraid I might fall. "I can't wait." His breath smelled like mint and blew across my face. His love made me feel like I was in a trance, and I slowly leaned in. His soft lips covered mine, and now my hand is on his cheek, making the kiss deeper. His lips took me to a different world, one where I don't feel pain and he makes me stronger. He pulled my body even closer to his, and both of my hands were on his cheeks. I kissed him harder because I needed and wanted him more. "Arya." A voice I hadn't heard in a while woke me up from my trance. "One man, one woman. One woman man." When I turned around, I saw Sebastian and my mom. "Want you all to myself, don't want anyone else." I gulped, and Henry tightened his grip on my waist, pulling me closer to him. He quickly moved to protect me when a stranger came up to us. He didn't know them. Sebastian also acted out right away and grabbed my mum, making her get closer to him. I rolled my eyes when he told her to leave me alone. "This is my mother and her fiancé," I said, and Henry's hard stare stayed on my mother. "Don't look at her like that," Sebastian growled. "Don't tell my fiancé what to do." I got in front of Henry before he could do anything. He wouldn't touch my mum, but Sebastian, I couldn't say the same thing. "Fiancé?" Sebastian raised an eyebrow. "You heard right." My dad and Maria walked over to stand next to us. My mom's body tensed up when she saw my dad and his ex-mistress. "Are you okay, dear?" Maria put her hand on my shoulder. I wanted to push her hand away from mine, but my mom was watching very closely. "Get your hands off my kid," my mom said, but Sebastian pulled her back to his side. I glared at her, then turned to hug Maria. She smirked and kissed my cheek, showing off to my mom. I said, "I think you guys should leave." I pulled up the end of my short dress to show off my dragon tattoo on my leg. I wanted to make her even more angry, just because I could. My mom gasped and put her hand over her mouth. Sebastian's face was blank, like always. You let her join your group. My mom is mad at my dad, and he rolls his eyes. Just walk away, my dad said. Sebastian grabbed my mom's wrist and pulled her away. I could finally breathe, but a part of me felt bad. Henry quickly grabbed my hand and brought me back to reality. You'll be fine, princess. My dad kissed my forehead, and I felt better knowing he was there for me. I need to go to the toilet, I stuttered. I'll go with you, Henry said right away, and I turned around to face him. No, I just need to be alone for a while. I smiled softly, kissed his lips, and then walked away. I felt like that weak little girl again, the one who loved her stepfather and wanted to be loved. I ran through the halls, crying, trying to find the bathroom. I was almost to the toilet when someone pulled me into a room. I was almost in the toilet when someone pulled me into a room. I was scared because I didn't know who it was when a hand covered my mouth. I need the person in the back, hitting their lower member, and then I started swinging my arms. The person groaned in pain and turned me around. Sebastian, I mumbled. His dark blue eyes took me to a whole other world. When I realized he wasn't going to kill me, my face relaxed. I shivered when he put his hands around me. It's been 6 months since I felt his touch. He was looking at every part of my face. Hi, I whispered like a complete idiot. Arya, you really just said hi. What? Sebastian asked angrily, what do you think you're doing? I was surprised. Why was he so angry? I was confused and said, what? Sebastian growled, you married a drug lord and joined his crew. You have a tattoo that ties you to them. His chest rumbled, he was really angry. I could almost see the fire in his eyes, and he held me tighter, making me squirm. And? Just so you know, I really love Henry, I said, turning away from him. I was angry because it was my choice and mine alone. Is that so? He asks. I nodded. Tell me, Pumpkin, does Henry touch you like I do? Does he take control in bed? Does he hit every spot like I do? He pushed me against the door and put his hand around my neck. I held his wrist and looked him in the eye. Tell me the truth, you're marrying him because your dad told you to. Sebastian put more pressure on my neck, but not enough to hurt me. Maybe my dad did make a deal, but I love him, he's a good man. I said softly, which made me sound weak about my choice. Perhaps it's because I'm unsure about my feelings right now. As I've said before, seeing Sebastian makes me question everything about myself. I looked into his eyes, and he stopped talking. So did I. I haven't seen him in 6 months, and I missed everything about him. He loves my mum, but he might love more than one person, just like I do. I love him even though he's cruel, cold, and unemotional. His hand relaxed a little, but my hand stayed on his. Sebastian somehow got closer to my face. I could feel his hot breath on my cheeks and it made my nose itch. We shouldn't, I whispered, and my voice came out dry. Our noses were touching, and my body was on high alert. My legs felt like jelly. I was on the edge of my toes, and it felt like I was in the twilight zone. I know. Sebastian puts his other hand on the wall behind me, which makes me swallow the big knot in my throat. We both kissed each other hard, and I gasped as my body rose with his. As we kissed harder, my hand moved to his hair and pulled it in my direction. I moaned in his mouth, and Sebastian let go of my neck. He then guided my hands down my thighs and picked me up, making me wrap my legs around his body. Our lips were having a hard time deciding between love and desire. Sebastian put me on the bed and lay on top of me, with my hands around his biceps. My blonde hair was all over the place, and his kisses were going down my neck. He grabbed my leg with his hand, and I pulled him back to my lips by grabbing his cheeks. Before I pulled away, I kissed him one last time. "I'm engaged," I said, out of breath. My forehead gently touches his. Sebastian said, "So am I." I said softly, "To my mom." My voice had a hint of guilt in it. I said, "You need to let me go, you don't love me," and I pushed him away and sat up. I was looking at the wall, and his eyes were moving down my body. "I know," he said. I wanted to cry, but I won't let him see me like that anymore. A piece of my heart broke even more. I would win, not him. I got up, pulled my dress down, and fixed my hair. Sebastian stood up after me, fixed his suit a little, and then took my hand. My back was still to him. "That doesn't mean I don't care about you, Arya." Sebastian turned me around. "Why do you keep doing this to me? You know I'm happy and engaged, and now you just want to ruin it for me," I said angrily. "You know what? Maybe it's me. Maybe I don't want to mess with little boys anymore after being with a real man like Henry." I said this to hurt him as much as I could. Sebastian pulled me close to him, and his eyes were a darker shade of blue. I swallowed hard. That kiss wasn't just nothing. His voice got deep and dangerous. I didn't know what to say to him, so I stayed quiet for a few minutes. Was I going to lie and say that the kiss didn't mean anything? Or be honest and tell him that the kiss we just shared meant a lot to me? Sebastian definitely looked different, he looked like he'd been through hell. His beard got darker, and I could barely see the bags under his eyes. "Sebastian, you need to stop!" Bang bang, the sound of gunfire from outside cut me off. That's what I thought when I ran out the door and left Sebastian behind, my mom, my dad, and my fiancé. I ran so fast that I didn't think about what was out there. When I got to the end of the hall, I saw people running, blood on the crystal white floor, and people screaming. I saw the shooters, 5 men dressed in all black. I picked up a gun that was on the floor and slowly and carefully ran to the corners where I last saw my mum. There were so many dead people that I kept stepping on them. I ran really fast to find my mum. Sebastian was nowhere to be found, and the gunfire didn't stop. I was almost there when something or someone drew my attention. "Just catch him and get it over with." Henry's voice was rough, unlike how he usually spoke. Henry was talking to the masked men who were killing people. God damn it, I did what I thought was best because I was upset and didn't know where my mum or dad were. I shot the guy he was talking to in the knee and pointed the gun at Henry. Henry raised his hands in the air as the man in the mask screamed in pain and crouched down to try to ease his knee. "Arya, this isn't what it looks like." "Put the gun down," Henry said, still holding his hands up. The other 4 guys in masks aimed their guns at me. I didn't think about that. Henry said, "Don't you dare point your guns at my fiancé," which made things even more confusing. The guys put their guns down. They looked just as confused as I did. There were more shots fired from another gun behind me. I turned my head, but I still had my gun pointed at Henry. Sebastian was shooting to get our attention, and there was blood on his suit. I almost ran to him to see if it was his blood. "Arya, he works for Dante, and so does your dad," Sebastian said, pointing at Henry. I moved out of the way a little. Henry said, "Dante is your father." I was so tired that I lowered the gun, which gave him a chance to take it from me and point it at Sebastian. Henry pulled back the gun and got ready to shoot it. "Your father never wanted you or your mother to be hurt. He wanted to kill Sebastian before he could kill you or your mother." It was scary when he smiled. "That son of a bitch, he almost killed his own blood," Sebastian yells. I remembered the whole thing that happened in the kitchen. "Did my dad send those men to kill him?" I asked. Henry says, "They were sent there to kidnap you and your mum. If you and your mum are out of his life, your father sees no point in killing him." Sebastian said, "You know how much I care about you and your mother. I would never let you guys go, even if you didn't want to." He motioned for me to come over to him. I looked at my fiancé, and he was holding out his hand for me to take. I had to choose between 2 men. Sebastian said, "Your mother is waiting, pumpkin." "Princess, don't." My dad's voice came from the side. "Sebastian is called Devil for a reason, he killed his whole family. I won't let him do the same to mine." My dad said this in a calm voice. I looked back at Sebastian. He looked sad and guilty. How can someone kill their own family? "Where's my mum?" I asked Sebastian, who was now in front of me. Sebastian asked, "Why can't you trust me with your life?" "She wants to come with me in the car." "Because you've hurt me before and I can't trust you anymore, they are my family now too." I said right away, because I wasn't going to sugarcoat how he had mentally abused me. Henry tightened his grip on the gun. I can admit that I wanted Sebastian to hurt, but not to the point of death. "Do it," my dad said out of the blue. At first, I was confused, but then the guns went off. There were 2 guns and 2 guys I care about. Sebastian thought he was shooting at me, so he jumped in front of me and took a bullet in the shoulder. Sebastian's gunshot went through the wall behind us instead of hitting us. My head was spinning because everything happened so quickly. "Sebastian!" I knelt down next to him and tried to stop the blood from flowing. "Get him and take him to the house," my dad said to Henry, who was already trying to pick him up. "Help him carry the bastard, idiots!" My dad yells at his masked men. "Oh my God, Sebastian!" My mom ran to him to try to comfort his hurt shoulder. I got in touch with my mum, and she cried on my shoulder while I hugged her. I whispered in her ear, "He's fine, just hurt. Jack, please let him go." My mom begs my dad to be nice. My dad moves closer to us and gently brushes my mom's hair back from her face while looking at her. I do what's best for my family. My dad kissed my forehead and then my mom's. I didn't expect my mum to hit him in the face. I jumped up because she scared me. You're doing what's best for yourself, you selfish bastard, my mom said with tears in her eyes. My dad laughed and licked his numb lip. My mom turned around to look at me. Mom, I said softly. Why didn't you go with him, Arya? He just wanted to go home, my mum said in a loud voice. Maybe I made a mistake by not going with him. But then it would start all over again, with me wanting what I can never have. I don't want that pain anymore. I couldn't, even if I wanted to, I said. I was mad at my mom because she didn't see that her daughter was in love with her fiancé. Was she really that dumb? Are you coming? Henry asked, and I nodded. You are too, mother. I rolled my eyes and went after Henry. How was I going to get Sebastian out of this mess now? My mum tries to pull her arm away from my dad's stone grip and says, You can't do this, Jack. I'm doing what's best for you, my dad says as he drags my mum up the stairs. I stayed right behind them. I never really understood why my dad cheated on my mum. They seemed so in love. No, you're doing what's best for you. My mother pulled her arm back again, this time to fight my father. Stop it, Dad and Mom, I said. I remembered my childhood, when I saw my parents fight every night, my father storm off to study, and my mother cry in the kitchen while trying to act like everything was fine. My dad let her go right away, and my mum touched her wrist before going into her room and slamming the door. She's mad at you, Dad, and she has a right to be, I said, almost in shock. I put my arms across my chest. I said, You lied to me, while looking at my mother's door and not being able to look him in the eyes. My dad said, I did what was best for you and your mother. There is no doubt that my dad loved me with all his heart, but he shouldn't have lied. He doesn't have to take care of my mother anymore, but he still feels like he needs to protect her. I ask, You still care about her? I now look into his greenish eyes, which were so familiar to mine that it felt like I was looking into my own eyes. She's your mother, and I will always care for her, my dad says. I shook my head no. Do you still love her, in a romantic way? I made my question more direct. For a moment, my dad didn't say anything. Maria is waiting for me. I need to go to bed. You can't see Sebastian before I go. My father said this with his finger right in my face, and he meant it. I just nodded. What was wrong with him that he didn't answer my question? I need to check his wounds, Daddy, I said. No, Arya. Your fiancé is in there with him. I'd be surprised if he's still alive after that. My dad laughed and walked away. My heart almost stopped when I saw Henry hurting him. Sebastian was already hurt and couldn't take any more. Forget Arya. I'll just wait until Henry leaves the basement. I slowly put my hair up in a bun and went to the couch, where I could hide from Henry after he left. I was there for a full 2 hours, and my eyes started to wander when the basement door opened. I curled up on the couch to hide my body as best I could. Boss, he'll die if we don't get a doctor, someone said. I slowly pulled the blanket away from my ears so I could hear better. Henry yells at the man who has gone silent, I don't give a shit, no one touches my Arya. Touch? I don't get it. Sebastian didn't touch me in front of Henry. Henry didn't sound like himself, he sounded possessed. I'll kill him myself if he's still alive tomorrow. The man said, Yes, sir. I heard them go out of the living room. I got up and ran to the wash basin right away. I got a bowl and filled it with warm water. I was able to maintain a balance between the vodka and water. I could use it to clean his wounds. Before going down to the basement, I also got a cloth. I shivered when my bare foot touched the cold cement. I couldn't see where I was going on the stairs, but that didn't stop me. I was horrified by what I saw when I got to the bottom of the stairs. Sebastian! I gasped and put my hand over my mouth. I put the bowl and everything else on the floor and ran to him. Sebastian was hanging from the ceiling, and the ropes were cutting into his wrists. I pulled on his cheeks and lifted his head with my hands. I looked for any sign of life on his face. Sebastian's dark blue eyes met mine, and I let out the breath I didn't know I was holding. I ran over to the hook that was holding Sebastian up and pulled the rope back with all my strength, but it didn't work. Sebastian groaned in pain. The axe. I looked around the room until I found the axe. I quickly picked it up and walked over to the hook. I leaned back and hit the axe hard. Sebastian's left hand came loose. I went to the right hook and did the same thing. Sebastian fell to his knees and could barely keep himself up. I bent down to his level and raised his head. His eyes were lighter than usual, his face was pale, and there was blood on every part of his body. I slowly let go of his head and crawled over to the bowl of alcohol and water. I put him in a sitting position and dipped the cloth in water. I slowly rubbed the cloth against Sebastian's rough skin, and every time I did, he grunted in pain. "I'm so sorry." My voice shook, and I was about to cry, to be honest. He didn't answer, which made me think he was mad at me. I didn't even notice until just now that Sebastian was shirtless. There were marks all over his body and a big bullet hole in his shoulder. I take hold of the bottle of vodka. I said, "This is going to hurt," when I opened the bottle. "Wait," Sebastian growled in pain. Sebastian took the bottle from me and drank some vodka. He coughed in disgust and handed the bottle back to me. I turned the bottle up so that the vodka could flow down Sebastian's body. Sebastian grunts in pain, but his grunt sounds more like a scream. I turned my head because I couldn't see him this way. "I feel like it's all my fault." "Arya, it's fine." "I'm fine," Sebastian says. I yell, "No, you're not fine, and it's all my fault. I'm mad at myself for hurting someone so much." Sebastian rubbed my chin with his thumb, which made me turn my head to look at him. Sebastian quickly wiped away the tears that had fallen. "It's not your fault," Sebastian grunted. "I have to get you out of here before Henry kills you," I said, and Sebastian nodded as I snuggled into his hand. Sebastian asked, "Is your mother safe?" "He'll definitely ask about my mom because he loves her." "She's fine." I hold back my anger and smile softly. "You can't make someone love you, Arya." I clean all of his wounds by rubbing the cloth over his chest. I put the cloth on the bullet hole when I got there. "Keep it there," I said to Sebastian. Sebastian put his hand on his hurt hand. "I have to kidnap you," Sebastian said as I tried to clean up the mess I had made. I turned around, confused. They won't just let me go willingly, especially since your little fiancé knows about us. Sebastian grunted. No, he can't. I've never told anyone. I said in shock, that's not possible. Well, he knows. Sebastian held his side in pain. My stomach was a mess. What if he tells my dad or, even worse, my mum? How are you going to kidnap me when you can barely stand up? I asked softly. Sebastian said, you need to call Caleb. It felt like Sebastian hit me with a lot of bricks all at once. What can I say to Caleb after everything that happened? I can't. I shook my head yes, very dramatically. There's no other choice, Arya. I'll die, Sebastian said in pain. I gently put my hand on his shoulder and rubbed my thumb against his skin to try to calm him down. Sebastian mumbled, Caleb has a sister, your best friend. Call her to pick us up. Sebastian, she can hardly kill a fly, let alone humans. I'm angry, tired, and worried. Maya can't help, and there's no way she can even pick up a gun. It could be dangerous and deadly to involve Maya. Sebastian said, call her. You think she doesn't know anything because her brother is very trained. Okay, I said, annoyed. Sebastian nodded right away when I said, I'll be right back. I ran back up the stairs and into my room, where I forgot Henry would be. Henry was reading a book on our bed when I walked into the room. I took my hair down from the bun and acted more relaxed. I picked up my phone from the nightstand. Henry asked, where were you as he turned the page in his book. I made up a story in my head. I'm not very good at lying, so let's see how this goes. I am with my mom, I said, putting my hands on my hips and leaning on one foot. Before looking at Henry, who had put down his book, I looked around the room. Henry smiled and said, can I get a kiss, love? I won't deny that I've grown to love Henry, but it'll never be the same as the love I have for Sebastian. His smirk has always been charming. I nodded and went around the bed to his side. I put my hands behind his neck and he kisses me softly on the lips. Henry always kisses me with all the love he has, and this kiss is soft and warm like the others. I pulled away a little and rested my forehead on his to try to catch my breath. Henry whispers, I love you, Arya. My hands went back to his cheeks, and I pulled our faces apart to look deeply into his eyes. His eyes told a great story about love and need. With Henry, it was so easy, I didn't have to sneak around or hide. I wouldn't be hurting anyone. I love you too, I said before I left. I had to keep a straight face, but I was really scared on the inside. Henry made it a lot easier for me to choose. I went into the kitchen and called the person who has hurt me so much and left me with scars that will last a lifetime. Caleb, Sebastian needs your help, I said on the phone. I need you to come to my dad's house. Come in from the back, where the basement is. Caleb has been here before, so he knows where everything is. On my way. I put down the phone. When I realized I hadn't taken any air earlier on the phone, I took a breath. His voice didn't change, it sounded the same. I thought he would be more surprised, maybe even happy, but it sounded like he was done with me. I calmed down before going back down to the basement. Sebastian was lying on the floor. I told him that Caleb was coming to get you. I lifted his head up and felt torn between love and hate. You mean us, he said. I looked at him, and his eyes were boring holes in my face. I shook my head and said, just you. They won't let me go unless I have a hostage. Yes, they will. They're sleeping, so you just need to stay away from my mom and me. I said while biting my lips. You can't marry my mum. If you do, my dad will kill you. I said, he still loves her. Sebastian grunted, what about you? What if I choose you? Even though he was in a lot of pain, he still tried to sit up. I put my hand on his chest and pushed him back down to the floor. You can't, I can't. You love my mom and she loves you. I love Henry, I choose him. I said with confidence, even though I knew I was lying to him and myself. The truth is that I want Sebastian in every way possible. Sebastian asked, you love him, in a deeper, meaner voice. Of course I do, he's never hurt me or made me feel bad. There was a knock, and it came from the wall. I quickly got up and opened the door. I pulled it back. Caleb's face came into view again, and there was my other weakness. Caleb's eyes moved down my body until they landed on my tattoo. I quickly pulled down my pajama shorts. I crossed my arms over my chest and stepped aside to let him in. Boss. Caleb tried to talk to Sebastian, but he pushed him away. Get me the hell out of here. I'm fine. Caleb puts Sebastian's arm around his shoulders and lifts him up. Caleb began to walk outside, and I quickly followed him. Sebastian stopped Caleb when we arrived at the car and used all his strength to get closer to me. Sebastian, you should lay down, I tried to say before he cut me off. Sebastian says, I can't leave without a hostage. I won't get your mum back and pay back for this blood. I love your mom and want to marry her. I won't leave here without any hope of getting her back, but your life is everything to those men inside. He catches me off guard, and I start to back away from him before he can grab me. With you as a hostage, your dad and Henry will surely hand her over. My heart was racing. Was that all he cared about? Revenge is a bitch. Sebastian yells, get her, Caleb. I looked at Caleb, and he looked lost. Caleb didn't listen when I shook my head. Sorry, Arya. Caleb lunges at me, and I kick him in the balls. I started to run, but Caleb grabbed my ankle and pulled me back. I fell forward, and everything started to blur when I tried to get up. I think I fell, I mumbled as I fell back down, but before I could touch the floor again, a pair of hands grabbed me. I woke up in a dark, cold room with my hands tied to a chair. I couldn't stop thinking about Sebastian and how he hurt me to save my mom. I was finally ready to let him go and move on, but no. He'll just keep leading me on because he's so selfish. I've been in this basement for at least 2 days and haven't seen anyone. Caleb and Sebastian didn't come to check on me, and I haven't eaten. My body hurt all over and I felt weak. The door opened, and it felt like God himself heard me. Sebastian walked in with Caleb behind him. Caleb was holding something in his hands. I was so focused on what Caleb was holding that I didn't even see Nina walk in right behind her fiancé. Nina smiled the biggest smile I've ever seen. She saw me and laughed. When I heard her dumb laugh, I tossed and turned in the chair. Sebastian is across from me, watching me while Caleb works on this thing. I could have sworn I saw regret in Sebastian's bold eyes. Nina wore a pink skirt and a white crop top with heels that were bigger than her ego. Her bump was definitely bigger, which made me hate her even more. I asked, "What the hell is this?" as I fought with the chair again. Sebastian puts his hands behind his back and appears to be recovering from his wounds. "Sorry you don't get the VIP treatment, Princess." Princess is a nickname my dad gave me, and Sebastian was aware of it. He just wanted to get on my nerves. I angrily stared him down. "Let's just make this quick," Caleb says, getting everyone's attention. I was staring at him until I gave up and looked down at my lap. Nina smiles and says, "Wow, it looks like little Arya is finally giving up. You are so lucky to be pregnant." Sebastian hissed, "Caleb, if you don't shut up, I'll kill your dog." I don't know why, but what Sebastian said gave me a little bit of hope that he might really care about me. "Get out." Caleb turned to his future wife. Nina was surprised that he would actually side with Sebastian, and she looked at me. I couldn't help but smile. She turned quickly and walked out. Caleb clicked a button on the device again. I asked, "Is this supposed to give me superpowers or what?" "I can tell by the way this thing looks that I would definitely become the next Black Widow or something. I promise that if I get power after this, I'll kill Nina." Sebastian said with a straight face, "You're very funny," even though he didn't find it funny at all. I don't trust Caleb anymore because the phone he was holding started to ring. The screen against the wall turns white when he plugs the phone into the machine. I should have known that it was a screen projector before now. Henry was on the screen with my dad next to him. I said Henry while wiggling against the rope. I pulled on my hands, which only made the rope rub against them hard, hurting me. "Arya." Henry almost came through the screen when he saw me. Caleb was watching us closely, unsure of my relationship with him. Sebastian said, "Arya, you must really love Henry if you are willing to fight more." He looked at my burned hands. It looked like my dad was going to blow up with rage. Sebastian walked behind me, and I stayed still. Sebastian said out loud, "Poor little Arya, she just wanted to play with the devil." "What do you want?" my dad asked. "Caleb, give me the thing," Sebastian said to Caleb. Caleb reached into his pocket and gave Sebastian a knife. "There's no way he's going to hurt me, right? Caleb won't let him do it." Sebastian walked in front of me and bent down to my level. He looked at my face, and his expression softened. My lips were shaking. "Please don't, Sebastian," I begged him. "I'm sorry, but I have to." He whispers so quietly that I almost miss it. Henry yells, "Don't you dare touch her." Sebastian turned to face the camera. Sebastian smirked and said, "Oh Henry, we're so past that." Henry's eyes darkened, and through the screen, his breathing grew heavier. Caleb looked at me and Sebastian with interest, but I was too busy trying to stay alive to look at him. My dad looked confused but didn't say anything. He just kept looking at Sebastian's hand, which was holding the knife. Sebastian turned around to face me again. He seemed reluctant to do it. He leaned over and began to unbutton my jeans. I tried to fight it off, but he was too strong. I heard Henry, Dad, and Caleb mumble, but I didn't pay attention to any of them. Sebastian pulled my jeans down, leaving me in my pink lacy knickers. I was wearing a crop top, so my knickers were on full display. Sebastian slammed the knife into my leg so hard that I could hear it hit my bone before I could say anything. I screamed in pain so loudly that my heart raced as if it were about to pop out of my chest. My body shook in pain, and I was in shock. I tilted my head to the side to try to numb the pain. "Arya!" Henry yelled. "I'll kill you, Sebastian. I'll rip your head off your body." "You said we were just going to scare them," Caleb said, pushing him away from me and bending down to my level. I shot my head back in pain, and Caleb grabbed it. He tried to make me look at him by pushing my chin in his direction. "Look at me," Caleb yells nervously. Henry's voice sounded like a faraway scream when he said, "Baby, I'm coming for you." Everything was getting dark and blurry. Sebastian growled, "I want my fiancé back in a month. I think I'll spend some time with my stepdaughter to get to know her better." There was a lot of red blood everywhere, and I was starting to feel dizzy. Caleb ripped off his shirt and tied it around my thigh. "Leave her alone, this is between you and my fiancé," was yelling before Sebastian unplugged the device. My vision was blurry. Sebastian pushed Caleb away from me, and he looked like he was about to lose it. Sebastian tore off the rope that was tied around my hands and then tore off the ones that were tied around my feet. I felt so dizzy that my head was falling forward. Sebastian raised my head. "Don't give up on me now, pumpkin," Sebastian whispered as he picked me up like a bride. My head hit his arm, and I screamed in pain. It was getting so dark that I could hear people yelling. Sebastian looked down at me and looked really scared. My head fell to the right, and there was no light. I woke up to a beeping sound and slowly opened my eyes, not knowing what to expect. I was praying that this was just a bad dream and that it wasn't real. I heard something moving next to me while N4 was pumping through me. Caleb was sleeping in the chair, and he didn't look comfortable. I looked around the room and saw that I was in a hospital. I sat up and groaned in pain. He did stab me, and my thigh was wrapped in a white bandage. A deep, tired voice says, "You've been out for 2 days." I looked into Caleb's eyes as he sat up and rubbed his sleepy eyes. "I had no idea he was really going to hurt you. I would never, ever put you through physical pain, Arya," Caleb says as he stands up and walks towards me. He bends down to my level. When he put his hand on my cheek, I jumped in fear. He seemed upset by how I reacted, but he calmed down when I put my hand on his. "It doesn't hurt less," I said in a rough voice. "I broke up with Nina," Caleb said. I couldn't think or talk. What did he want me to do? Jump into his arms and say, I loved him forever. I stayed with her because I thought that if I left, I would never see my child again. I never loved her. I never loved anyone as much as I love you. Seeing the life leave your body changed me. I started to think about life without you, but I couldn't. Caleb's eyes searched my face for a reaction, but I was numb. I couldn't go through this again. Nina and I had sex once, and she got pregnant and made me date her. Where is Sebastian? I asked. I don't want to see him, but I want to know what the jerk is doing after he almost killed me. Caleb stood up and said, I just wanted to know if Sebastian has come to see me. After he stabbed you, he was scared. He took you to the hospital and then left. He hasn't been back since. With his back to me, he says, he just doesn't care enough. Caleb whispers so softly that I almost miss it, there's something between you two. You are crazy. I tried to play it off, but I couldn't risk it. Caleb would hate me, and so would everyone else. Don't lie to me, Arya. You think I'm stupid. Caleb turned to me and pointed his finger down. I see how he looks at you. I've never seen Sebastian care about anyone as much as he does about you, not even your own mother. I was going to argue with him, but then the door opened behind him. I got my hopes up like a fool. I thought it was Sebastian, but it turned out to be Maya. Oh my God, you're awake. Maya ran into my arms, and I hugged her tightly. I was watching Caleb while I hugged her, and he looked angry. He turned back around and ran his hand across his face. Caleb said, I'm glad you're okay, before opening the door and leaving. I felt bad because I was messing up my mom, Henry, and now Caleb too. What got into him? Maya smiles at me and pulls away. I started to laugh, and Maya looked at me funny because I was laughing so hard. My laugh got drier and drier, and then it turned into a sob. I started to cry in a big way. I'm a horrible person. I cried. My body shakes, and she looks at me longingly. Are you okay, Arya? Maya puts her hand on my shoulder and tilts her head. I felt betrayed by her for siding with her brother, but right now I just need my best friend. I'm fine. I started to breathe too fast. I could barely cry because I was having trouble breathing. I'm okay, I yelled. Arya, shhhh, it's okay. She hugs me and rubs my back up and down. Breathe, Arya, she whispers. I can't. She raises my face with her hands to make sure I am looking at her. You're having a panic attack, she says. Breathe with me, she says, and I do what she says. I did what she said until I started to feel better and my breathing became more even. She had tears in her eyes as she watched me breathe. I'm so sorry to see you like this, she whispers. Nobody gets it, I don't even know why I care about him. He's a terrible person, and he uses me. I cried when I heard, I'm a stupid girl who just wants to be loved. Love is a dangerous game, and I always lose. It's remarkable how someone can hurt you so deeply and yet your love for them never truly fades. I feel like this pain will never go away, he's always going to hurt me, but I can't let go. I didn't have to love Henry or marry him. It was forced. She looked confused. She didn't know who I was talking about. He stabbed me, Maya. I yelled, tears streaming down my face. I looked up at her, a confused expression on her face, which began to soften. Her eyes lit up when she realized who I was talking about. Mr. Maya says, Devaru stabbed you. I felt like a huge brick had been lifted off my shoulder. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand and looked down at my wrapped thigh. He hurt me again, I said softly. When I was 7, Maya and I promised to always be there for each other. As teenagers, we always had each other's backs and defended each other. Maya and I have grown apart over the years, but our love for each other has never changed. We could never stay mad at each other, no matter how hard we tried. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. I looked back up at her and said, that's why he's my mom's fiancé. Why didn't you tell me? I'm your best friend. She got up and looked angry. I took her hand and my eyes started to plead. Please don't be mad, I said quietly. I couldn't handle that either. She glared at me for a moment before nodding and sitting back down on the bed. I tightened my grip on her hand. Maya whispers, you'll be fine. I sniffed and looked down at my hands, which were getting wet with tears. I think I'm broken, I said, stuttering. She lay down next to me and patted the empty space next to her head. I lay down across from her, and she pulled the hospital blanket over us. I snuggled up to the warmth of the blanket. She looked into my green eyes, looking for an answer, but I didn't have one. My body relaxed as I felt calmer with her around. She has always known how to make me feel better. Arya, you're not broken. She says, you're smart, beautiful, kind, and strong. You have an amazing heart. You deserve the love you give to others. What she said made sense. I love too quickly and give my all when they give me nothing in return. To move on, I have to love myself. Maya gently patted my head to comfort me and started singing the song my mum used to sing to us when we were kids. My body was completely relaxed and ready for sleep, and my eyes began to close. Sebastian stabbed me a week ago, and he hasn't been seen since. I came home 2 days ago and he wasn't there. Caleb and Maya have been hanging out, and things have been really awkward between Caleb and me. Every day I've begged Caleb to let me go home. Sebastian told Caleb he couldn't let me go home or call Henry, and even when he's not here, he's still in charge of my life. Maya yells, we're going out tonight. I put the book I was reading on my lap down. I tilted my head at her as she went through my closet looking for something to wear. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.